All right, on board number 3 in Austria, we've got Sergei Saragin, who I've seen before. He must have been in some of the other tournaments. In England, we have Craig Mayer out of Montana, and Craig comes from the in-person face-to-face world. Siobhan and I both know him pretty well, and we both played at a tournament that he ran in Big Sky, Montana last summer. In France, we have Stephen Hogue in Kentucky. Stephen is a brand new entrant into the face-to-face world, but has made a big splash and really gotten to know people. Is a really good guy, and he's been on our program once or twice already. Germany, we have the tournament director, Bill Hackenbracht, playing out of North Carolina, needed someone to fill a board and couldn't get anyone, so put himself in there. Obviously, his score will not count for the tournament standings. He cannot win any awards in the tournament. In Italy, we have Laszlo Levy. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Laszlo, coming out of both the Netherlands and Spain. Quantum superposition there. In Russia, we've got Gary Sturley out of the United Kingdom. And in Turkey, we've got Kumar Prasan coming to us from India. As far as I know, this is our first player from the country of India on one of these broadcasts. There is a player from Singapore who I think is playing today. But this is a first for us from India. Is he playing in the middle of the night at this point? I think he is, yeah?
He must be. I think they're 12 or 13 hours off from me. So.
Yeah. So midnight or 1 a.m. or 11 p.m. All right. So we'll see how that works for him going forward. Do you guys know anything about any of the other players?
Sergey he goes by MaxVex when he plays online. He came second in the Nexus tournament last season, and it was an extremely close finish. I would say he's an incredible online player. I'm interested to see how well that translates to face-to-face.
All right, let's have a look then. Here is the board set up, and Markus, we'll start with you in the East.
Okay, fairly standard, aside from, the Russian move to Romania is interesting. So putting a fleet there, obviously very pro-Austrian, because you can't continue an attack against the Austrian with the fleet. The Turk looks like they're very anti-Russian off the bat with the move to Armenia, but you've said that could be that could be a fake out. Everything else seems quite standard. Italy setting up for your usual Lepanto. Clearly some friendliness between the Italian and the Austrian. So a real big thing is probably some kind of breakdown of communication between Russia and Turkey in the initial phase.
That's a nice way to put it. A breakdown of communication. May only be one-sided breakdown. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. All right, Siobhan, in the West, what do you got?
In the West, the first thing I have is apparently Bill Hackenbracht has been replaced on this board by Jeff Dwarnicki.
Is that right?
Okay. That in mind. Yep. So we've got the full Northern opening from England again, like we had on board 1. Possibly thinking that maybe there's some sort of Western triple going on. The French do not commit quite as south as the other France did. Still want some play for Belgium. And Germany is very, very standard. And Italy, I see that probably on about 50% of boards I play these days.
All right, let's push ahead into the fall of 1901. Markus, we'll go back to you.
Okay, well, there's the attempted Turkish fake out, although I'm not sure how they expected Bulgaria to Greece to work. Maybe the Italian offered support in, but that seems a little unlikely. But clearly the Russian and the Turk have made up at least to some degree here, because the Turk did have Sevastopol. No, they had Romania guaranteed if they wanted it, or Sevastopol guaranteed if they went in with the fleet. The move to Trieste from the Austrian, I mean, that's kind of just a safety thing. Moving out of Venice for the Italian shows he's committing to a pretty pro-Austrian stance here, and probably going to follow through with the Lepanto. Bad news for Turkey.
This is this is evidence of a really mixed up East, I think, that has the potential to turn into a solid AI. But I think if you're Russia in this case, aren't you fine having the army convoy into Romania and blowing up your fleet? You get to put down an army either way. In this case, now you're just stuck and waiting for Austria to help you, which may be better long term for you anyway. But that's at least your options are now narrow.
Depends how much you trust the Turk, right? If that move to Armenia wasn't agreed in the first place, then I wouldn't want to blow up the Romania fleet. But yeah,
better to keep the possibility of assisting Austria in a three-way against Turkey if you want to. Okay, Siobhan, let's go to you in the West.
So it appears to me that, the hold in Denmark letting Russia have Sweden, RT did the nice little fake out with that Sunstrom opening, which allowed Russia to get that build without the bounce. I'm not really clear on who's working with who here. I think they still have to figure that out. Standoff in Belgium, so it's the first England who did not get Belgium in 01.
And the first Russia to get Sweden.
And the first Russia to get Sweden. You were correct.
Yeah. Boy, Germany really this is a case where Germany really gets to keep his or her cards close to their vest, right?
Yes.
This is a very cagey way to play this, so you don't have to commit to either one, and that you can stay that way with the builds, right? Let's see what happens. Let's see if Germany stays ambiguous, and the answer is no.
That is a commitment. So double army from Germany and double fleet from France.
And the army build in Berlin, not Kiel. Berlin to keep open the possibility of going east, which you just can't see that happening in this case.
No.
But we got a double fleet build from France. If this fleet build had ended up in Edinburgh, then I might be convinced that there is a Western Tripoli thing happening. Builds around the rest of the board, we again see Turkey opting for Fleet and Khan rather than Smyrna, which seems to commit him to an anti-Russian stance. Russia puts down 2 armies in hopes to avoid some entanglement in the north, which a fleet on either coast would commit him to. But we'll see how that works out. Let's keep on moving ahead here. And I think we're on the east first in this game. Markus, what do you... Oh, I need to show you the orders.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Markus, tell me what's going to happen.
Oh boy.
Instead, tell me what actually did happen.
Well, Turkey looks kind of screwed. The Russian, they did manage to get the Armenian army out, and it looks like the Russian was fine with that, getting rid of the fleet there. But Austria's still got the jump on them. Austria-Italy tends to have the advantage against Russia-Turkey if they both start moving at each other at the same time. And in this case, Turkey-Russia is a long way behind where Italy and Austria have been with them in the Aegean Sea, and no attempt to bounce them out of Greece or Serbia, plus Austria and Galicia. It's just a fantastic position for Austria all around.
Think there's any chance here that Russia might be in on this, willing to let Austria get position and take Romania? Like that, maybe that was part of the plan anyway.
I think that's pretty reasonable. It gets the army in Armenia out of Armenia, which is very nice for the Russian, because
exactly.
If the Turk panics and starts going, okay, where can I survive? If they have that army in Armenia, then the first thing they're going to try to take is Sevastopol. So getting it out, quite nice for them. We'll have to see how much the Austrian sticks with the Russian going forward.
All right, Siobhan, let's go to you in the West.
So we are seeing the Western Triple take effect, slightly delayed. I don't hate the build in London now. That can throw off the rest of the board because you didn't need to put it in Eddie. Everyone commits. Germany gets Belgium, as I usually demand in these scenarios. We put England into Sweden. The Germans got some issues with that fleet in the Baltic, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, now it's full on Western Triple now. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they have all the subterfuge is gone.
But maybe this was, maybe London helped them hide it, and the bounces in Belgium helped them hide it. I don't think it actually slowed down their pace at all.
No, I don't hate it.
As long as Germany was willing to forego Belgium until 02, it was a fine way to do it, right?
Yeah, and it looks like the German has Austrian help against Russia, or might.
Might. Let's see how it works out. All right, fall 1902. Markus, tell me what you see.
Okay, well, Austria attempting to kill the Turk as quickly as possible. We kind of expected this, just taking over the Balkans entirely. Turkey backing out of Black Sea, backing out of Constantinople, not even trying to hold them. Turkey could have held Romania or Bulgaria, one of the two, with that Black Sea support. So
yeah,
I don't really see why you would move into Ankara with that fleet here. maybe it's an agreement, like a last-minute panic agreement with someone of, okay, I'll back out of Black Sea, just leave me alive, kind of thing. But in those scenarios, you're most likely just killing yourself by doing something like that. You need to keep your units in good positions.
I love that you brought up the last minute panic agreement, because that's something that we see in face to face a lot. But you've played mostly extended deadline games online, right? Is that does the last minute panic agreement happen as well there?
Yeah, it just happens in slow motion.
Okay.
You'll just have someone panicking slowly over the course of the day and still entering the orders.
Slow motion panic sounds painful. I mean, fast motion panic is also painful in its own way. Yeah. Okay, Siobhan, over to you. Well, I just want to point out here, by the way, that Romania had the option of retreating to an empty Sevastopol and declined. So lots of strange moves coming from the Turk and from the Russian this game. I mean, the Russian had lots of different possible options on how to play this, and this is where they've ended up. Okay, Siobhan, let's go to you in the West.
I mean, the Western triple chugs on. Germany is covering Berlin and Kiel, loses him a little bit of pace. The most interesting move I see right now is Piedmont supporting Burgundy to Marseille. And the only reason I think I can think of is that he didn't want to leave Marseille open for a build and thought maybe the French player was going to self-bounce, but France isn't getting a build. So it's sort of no argument. France goes to NAF. And the train chugs on.
All right. Let us move forward here and let us see spring 1903 moves. And we had switched so that Markus, you were in the West, and Siobhan, you were in the East on this one, right?
I think I was in the East through all the ones I was commentating.
I switched you for the other two games.
Oh, no, the other commentators, I think, switched off at one point.
Got it. Okay. Yep. You guys want to stay East and West here for... Let's do it. Markus, tell us about the East.
All right. So we're going to see Austria slip into Sevastopol here while everyone else is fighting on the front line. I actually really like the Austrian approach to this Western triple, his response, which has been kill Turkey as fast as possible, because obviously Turkey is usually the main person who benefits out of a Western triple. But he's running into this issue that you have when you've just got the one fleet against Turkey. You're never going to be able to break that line unless you get something into Armenia. So move to Sevastopol makes sense from that perspective. You've got to wonder how long that Turkish army at the front line is going to keep helping, though, if Austria is making it clear that they're intending to kill Turkey. But everywhere else is just trying to hold back the Western triple.
And Siobhan, tell us about that Western triple.
The Western triple chugs along. Germany makes use of the second fleet to piff the Prussia fleet, which nicely done. Drops Kiel down to Munich, which I'm sure kind of would have liked to have left it in Kiel and had the opportunity to convoy over to Livonia again. England chugs along, takes St. Pete because Russia just says, can't hold it anyway. Curious to see if he shuffles them around in the fall to get an army in there.
All right, let's find out. And Siobhan, tell us about it.
He stabs Germany for 1. Germany also loses Munich. France guesses right this time. Last turn tried to convoy into Tuscany, but Italy snuffed that out and bounced him. Gets Tunis, gets into Piedmont, and France goes to Burgundy. We'll see. To help the German, to hurt them. It's all a guess.
All right. Tell us about the East, Markus.
Okay. Well, we see that Turkish army being popped there. You assume that has to be agreed because they knew, Austria knew that it would be rebuilt in Constantinople, which is exactly what's going to happen. The interesting thing on that front, well, obviously Russia gets put into Munich but can't build anything. But they keep 3, right? Oh, they have 3 units, so that
they will. Yeah, they'll be.
They lose St. Petersburg. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The interesting thing is the Italian moves. Ionian to Greece could potentially be agreed with the Austrian, given the Austrian was going plus Sevastopol. So this doesn't take the Austrian down anything. But combined with Piedmont to Venice, that makes me think the Italian didn't trust the Austrian here and gave away a pretty decent position in order to dot grab, essentially. That could be a big problem for a lot of Eastern powers if the Western Triple, like, well,
Well, the West.
yeah, if France even keeps pushing forward.
It's yeah, this is a tough one. I think if you're Austria, I don't see why you would want to blow this army up. If anything, I think you'd want to slip into Armenia and get the army in Romania around. I don't know why you would want the army on the southern flank. But now you have purchase on the Warsaw and Moscow, but you're also trying to work. So very complicated strategic situation here all of a sudden. Let me get the builds down and then I'll ask you guys to analyze that for me. Figure out who you think has the advantage and who might have the overall edge among those with good position. As far as the builds go, we see Turkey plopping a fleet down, which is interesting. And France puts down an army, which is also interesting, actually, considering that you might have thought that they would be more worried about fighting England here, England getting too strong. England puts down an army and a fleet, which also suggests that they are interested to finishing off Germany rather than going after France at this point. Okay, so Germany gives up on Berlin rather than Baltic. Also interesting here. Okay, so Siobhan, going to you first. Whose position do you like the best here?
I think England. I think they've got the edge. Craig is a very strong player. And, with France locked up in the Med, England has, I think, a lot more play and many more dots. France gets what, Belgium?
And Markus, what about you?
Yeah, I agree completely. England is the power I'd want to be playing here. Potentially, if Austria can get the Italian back on side, they have a pretty decent position, but I would still want to play England and probably France before I'd play anyone in the East.
And is it because of the big thorn in the big yellow thorn in Austria's side?
Turkey is possible to kill them if Italy comes back on side and uses that fleet against the Turk. But even then, it's a really difficult thing to get rid of with 3 Turkish fleets.
3 fleet Turkey.
Yeah, hard to imagine Italy doing that with France bearing down on them, but. Yeah, I'm with you guys. England does not have a thorn in the side the size of Turkey, so has more growth potential. All right, let's see how it works out then. Spring of 1904, and Siobhan, let's go to you in the West. Woo, lots of black arrows here.
Lots of movement. Every one of England's units around the North Sea has moved. Holland, not because it wanted to, but because it had to retreat. France is setting up to take Belgium in the fall. Germany just takes Munich back, but loses Berlin. Okay. All right.
Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Markus, tell us about the East.
In the East, we've got Italy getting knocked out of the Tyrrhenian Sea, but ultimately that doesn't matter a ton because this is where France can get to. Italy just has that line of units, and they've made it with Austria, clearly. And France is not going to get anywhere further unless someone stabs, not for a long time anyway. But then you also have that Turkey is going to be a thorn in Austria's side for sure now. There's nothing Austria can do against that. Austria trying to take the Russian supply centers, I mean, I guess they can. There's not a lot that Russia can do to stop that.
Well, if you're Russia here, aren't you talking to Turkey about Sevastopol at this point?
Yeah, very likely. I mean, I think the Austrian can cover for that, right? Or they can. No. I suppose they can't really because Moscow pulled down to Sevastopol by Black Sea. Even if you try and push Warsaw into, you have to guess between Livonia holding Moscow or Livonia tapping Warsaw, depending on what Austria is doing. But yes, Austria is potentially biting off more than he can chew here.
And then there's also Bulgaria, right? I mean, there's a guess here. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. You can guarantee that you take Bulgaria. You can't guarantee that you don't lose Khan at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but if Turkey got another build here, that would be delicious. All right, have we done? Let's see what happens here. Marcus, sick in the east here.
Okay, well, we see that Russia got the guess correct, tapping Warsaw instead. Austria attempting to counter the two-way attack with a two-way attack the other way, and getting the support cut, so it didn't work. This is obviously a bad thing for for Austria, although they hold on to Bulgaria because Turkey was using Black Sea to help the Russian instead. Italy, I assume that was a planned arranged bounce on Trieste.
Right.
It might have been an attempted stab. If it was an attempted stab, it was a pretty half-hearted one, I feel like.
Yeah, and optimistic, aspirational, I should say. All right, Siobhan, tell us about the West.
Not too much happening here. France takes Belgium. I presume that was arranged the whole time. England gets to forward retreat into Ruhr, which is fun. And to make up for losing Holland, England takes Denmark, stays even, and that's all she wrote.
All right, so a lot of does this count as Dipsy Doodle in the West, or France comes out a dot ahead? Correct.
France comes out a dot ahead,
and actually, and is England down a dot? They are.
Well, England is down Holland, but up Denmark.
So then Germany is down a dot. Yes.
Germany will be on 2.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. That was hard to see. Okay, so England even, Germany down.
No, Germany's even. No, you're right. Sorry, they're on. Oh, I'm so confused.
Germany picked up Holland and Munich, lost Denmark and
Berlin.
No, they kept Berlin because they moved Russia out.
Belgium. Yeah.
So Germany's even.
So then,
ouch, that's not.
So who lost the dot? Oh, Russia. Russia lost the dot. Okay.
Yes.
There we go. So Russia lost the dot. France, that's where there is, in diplomacy, there is a principle of the conservation of dots. And we have just observed it. Okay, so France dropped an army, sticking with the EF here, to the extent that they are. And other than that, France pulls the army. Unclear what happens to Russia next. Did I say France? I meant Russia. Okay, let's move ahead here. And spring of 1905. Let's do the let's do the West first, because that's where all the action is. Siobhan, tell us about it.
Ooh, another turn with a lot of black arrows for England. Craig finally puts the army into St. Pete. Thank you very much. Reshuffles some fleets to make it work. Drops into the Baltic. Very well done. And a bunch of a bounce around Kiel, but Helgoland gets piffed. And for France, other than moving into Tuscany, and I'll let Marcus take that Austrian.
Tell us about it, Marcus.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the Italian peninsula, we've got Piedmont being taken by the Austrian with Italian support. It was fairly obvious that France was going to try and put 2 armies on that front. So I think that was absolutely the correct move. Try and isolate that army and then hopefully blow it up. If we move further east, we see that Austria and Russia seem to have negotiated a truce while Austria kills Turkey, which I feel like is probably a mistake on Russia's part, because Austria has made it clear that they're going to come after Russia as soon as they can.
I mean, what else do you think Russia could have done here?
I guess they had to protect Moscow, but they could have tried to tap Romania. They could have... they can't really go to Armenia or anything, so maybe just try and get Turkish assistance into Romania, something like that.
Just to harass Austria. Yeah, it's worth noting that if Turkey and Russia had worked together here, they could have gotten this army into Romania, and then Austria's just stuck for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah, but it's possible that Russia's just said, okay, I'm might be dead anyway, so if Turkey gets killed before me, I get slightly more points.
Oh, right. That's how it works in Carnage. If you get eliminated after somebody, then you finish a place higher than them.
The first person to get eliminated is in 7th place on the board.
Okay.
And so on.
All right. Let's check out fall of 1905. Marcus will stay with you. Okay.
So Austria dismantling Turkey pretty effectively here. We do we do see Russia trying to now make the stab against Austria, but it's a bit late.
Yeah.
They've already got their lineup, and yeah, Turkey's. In fact, that hurts Turkey because Turkey could have kept Constantinople if they hadn't gone with it. On the Italian front, we've just got a whole lot of nothing happening. No, they do push
Oh.
into Tyrrhenian Sea.
That's right.
They guessed correctly on that front.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well done, Laszlo. Yeah. And
I
I mean, let's give a big shout out to Sergey here for we gave him some guff. What was it, a year ago, for allowing Turkey to consolidate their position, and it has worked out extremely well for Austria. They now have not only all of the Turkish centers, essentially Smyrna will fall easily, but they've got the fleet on in Constantinople, so that fleet will be in the Black Sea before long. Well, actually, there's some guessing here. It's not 100%. Yeah, Turkey should go. Okay, let's go to the west here, and Siobhan, tell us about it.
There's not a ton happening up in the west aside from EF taking Holland and Kiel from the German, just sort of little by little chewing at him and breaking him down.
This is just a well-coordinated attack in this case,
Yeah.
right? Like they made the exact right moves. Not a whole lot of guessing, but they didn't need to. Little bit of an issue now with Belgium here, but I believe
Right.
just a self-bounce will do it, right?
A self-bounce should do it, and Germany has to pull a unit.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. This was the fall. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's see what the builds are in this case.
And he pulls it anyway.
Germany recognizes sees the writing on the wall, as they say. We've got surprising army build in the sense that there's nothing that can be done with the army. There's no fleets bordering that spot, but England must be pretty confident that they have enough fleets to do whatever they want to do, and all they need to do is just keep. All Craig needs to do is make sure that Stephen is on side. So, and then Austria puts down 2 armies here, no surprise. That means they're confident that Italy's going to stay on side. It's a fascinating board, actually, because it's, Stephen and Craig, England and France here, have worked out a really successful alliance. They're both even at 8, and they still have a bogeyman on the opposite side to stay united about. Question for me becomes, at what point do you, if you're England or France here, decide that you want to go for this board top? And how do you go about doing it? Any quick thoughts on that? Is there any clear path that you guys see? Either one of you can take this.
I mean, France is encountering some issues in the Med, and knowing Craig as well as I do, he should take advantage of it, but he won't.
Because he's a conservative player?
He's a good alliance player. It's less about conservative and more that I think he'd feel bad for dotting France at this point.
Even if it's for the board top.
Yeah.
Markus, you're laughing.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty accurate. I don't know the players, but it does look like the kind of alliance where that would happen. I also know that because I've played with Sergey in online games, he's very, very good at exploiting a strong alliance on the other side of the board to take complete control of the other side and just run havoc on top the board anyway. But in order to top the board, he's going to need one of them to stab the other at some point. So we'll
you think?
Well, they could get stopped pushing, but I think if one of them does stab the other, they'll probably end up in some war where neither of them gains very much, and he'll be able to get the jump on Italy, which is, I mean, this is coming from my personal knowledge of him. I think he absolutely would jump on Italy here if France backed off.
So this may be a situation where the board is balanced so precisely that England and France simply can't stab either one without, if they don't stab, then Austria tops. If they do stab, then Austria tops. Like that. Let me just be in that situation.
I think there's a chance they could top if they keep pushing and get the German centers here. Actually, it's unlikely because, Austria has Moscow, Sevastopol, Smyrna
and
pretty
Smyrna,
much on lock, right?
Yep.
They'd need to push really fast to get get past Austria here.
Okay, so then the triple point would be if England and France are able to get units on Austrian centers and are able to push him back a little bit, then you get the possible tension between the two where one of them could stab. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
We just reveled in a bit of analysis. Let's move on for the reveal. And Markus, anything in the east of interest here?
I mean, Austria getting slowed down a bit is very important because of that English convoy to Livonia, but I'll leave that for the West to talk about. The obviously Austria picking up Smyrna is nice for Austria. Not losing the guess on Bulgaria, it's also very nice for him.
Still a guess in the fall, though, right?
As in, oh yeah, I didn't notice it was spring even, but so he's gonna have to deal with the Black Sea Fleet for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think Bulgaria should have stayed home here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can't self-bounce, can they? Because Sevastopol could attack Romania with Turkish support, or vice versa. I suppose they could use Budapest and Galicia to secure Romania, but it slows them down even more. The other interesting thing that happens, French army gets popped in Tuscany, which is quite important, but also Austria retreats to Venice, which you've got to think is not...
Sorry.
It's not going to be...
Oops, I had to go there, otherwise it would be open for France. Oops. Oh, also I had nowhere else. Oops. Okay. Siobhan, tell us about the West.
Yeah, that retreat into Venice was one of the first things that my eyes jumped to. So yeah, France got it right by getting into Piedmont, but lost Tuscany, which is really unfortunate. England spent some time getting a fleet into the North Sea. Love the convoy to Livonia. Looks like Germany has just given up on Berlin and Munich and is setting up to take Warsaw. So there's potential of Warsaw and Moscow falling this turn.
So this is a potential avenue to a board top by Craig, is to pick up Moscow and Berlin, prevent Austria from getting either Moscow or Warsaw. Oh, he already has Warsaw. So he loses Warsaw, right? So if Austria ends up only getting Sev and Smyrna out of this, and Craig gets Moscow and Berlin, Craig is still one. No, then they would be even, right? Because Warsaw would have. Yep. Okay. Great. Let's see how we do it. Fall 1906. Siobhan, stick with you in the West.
Yep. Indeed, Warsaw and Moscow both fall. England takes Berlin. France takes Munich. So Germany will live on at 1. France loses Piedmont again and decides to just piff the unit instead of retreating it anywhere, probably to rebuild it.
Oh.
Which is an interesting choice because he will get 2 builds with that piff.
And now 3 because he took Munich.
No, that's including Munich. He picks up Munich and he piffs 1 unit.
It wasn't Tuscany piffed in the spring?
Oh, right. Forgot about Tuscany. So he gets 3 builds and a chance to heavily reevaluate his game decisions. And that, boys and girls, is why sometimes you take a unit off the board.
Wow. All right, let's go. Let's dive head first into the rest of this game, which actually doesn't have a whole lot left in it. So let's see what happens. We've got 10-9-9. England at 10 took the board top because Austria had not yet gotten Sevastopol. And France is, so France actually would have been 11-8. So this might have been an automatic board top for Craig, if not for the taking of Munich. Big question is whether that was agreed upon or not. Let's find out. We've got so England gets to put down 2 units here. That's a did they have units in the bag? Oh, Munich was German. Munich was German. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So going into the final year here now. All right, we've got a brand new fleet. Lots of fleets in the West all of a sudden. Another army for England. Normally when England has this many armies, it's a pretty good game, and so far it is. Austria puts down an army, and let us see how this plays out. Siobhan, to you in the West first.
Okay, a lot of movement. Yeah, France tried to go to the English Channel, had to know that he wasn't going to get there. Craig supports himself, drops the armies down. We're going to see a convoy in the fall. The question is to where. And yeah, realigns all his other units to yeah, I guess just try and take as much as you can off France before it's over.
And Marcus in the east.
Yeah, Austria positions to take Sevastopol, which is now essentially the only center he can take without pushing past the England-France line, but obviously looks like England-France might be breaking down. um, he's also positioned himself in Bulgaria and in Tyrolia and Piedmont, so he can stab the Italian if it comes down to it for that board top. Whether he'll actually do so is another question.
Yeah, with France pulling units back, this is potentially a massive board top for Austria if this game continues. Be interesting to see if Austria tops and then they all just agree to a draw because it's clear what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So at this point, let's find out. And Marcus will stay with you in the east.
Okay, we see Austria sticking with Italy here and just taking Sevastopol. So I think that doesn't give him the board top, does it?
No.
Especially since England takes Warsaw with Austrian support, which is very strange. If Austria was going for the board top, maybe he just decided I'm not going to end up topping this board. I actually don't really understand this at all, except I guess it means there's only 2 armies on that front now. So Austria could push in and just take Moscow the year after this. But we know that the game doesn't go that long, right?
Yeah. Siobhan, talk about the Western. And we'll wrap this up.
Can you show me what the actual orders are? I need to know what Holland wrote. Support English to Belgium. Okay, Craig, we need to talk. There's a couple of things wrong here. Last season, you should have pulled Denmark down to Kiel instead of putting the fleet from Baltic in there. Why are you walking back out of Kiel? Did you just decide is this all just like counting the centers so y'all can tie or something? Like, you let us have Kiel, but you didn't take Belgium.
I think that's what happens. I think this is a 3-way tie. Yeah, 10-10-10.
Yep.
Craig.
Okay.
This is not acceptable.
So the game ends. There's no more moves. Wow. I feel a collective sense of disappointment among us.
I don't see why Austria drew here. Like he can take Warsaw, he can take Moscow. He could get a board top by himself, but it might just be that they don't view the difference in points to be that massive. Or maybe Italy was going, if you don't accept this, then I'm gonna turn on you or something.
But what is he gonna do?
Actually, I guess, well, he could just like go into Smyrna or something. He can't really do very much, can he?
But I think you would hurt him before he would hurt him sufficiently before he'd be able to start hurting you.
Yeah.
And plus you could have gotten a fleet in the water, right?
Yep. It's a strange draw on the Austrian part. I can kind of see why England-France drew, because they have been in this game long alliance, and 10-10 is quite a neat way to end it.
Well, I think the way that the East resolved it, I think that what we talked about before was the case here, that England and France, if they kept fighting, it would just mean Austria would top the board. But Austria should have topped the board anyway. So
yeah,
I just don't agree with Craig not taking Belgium at the end, because France was clearly supporting him there.
I'm a big fan of going for it. So in Carnage, let's see, they tied. The 3-way tie for first place is the same as a second place finish. If you're,
is that what it is?
Yeah, if you're Craig and you go for it, the worst that happens is you finish in third place
and lose 100 or 1,000 points or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't agree with this at all, and I see the chat is very disappointed in this game.
Yeah, I clearly we're all in agreement that Sergei really had little reason to draw here. Correct?
Yeah.
Sergei especially, and even if I'm Craig,
yeah,
I set up the couple of seasons before this a little better, and I don't think I see a reason to draw if I have an army in Kiel and the fleets where they need to be.
But we agree that it's probably a losing cause, right? Like like Austria probably tops if you're at this stage. If England and France keep fighting, It's
Yeah,
we're
I
just
think
more of
so.
this mind that it's like worth going for because why not?
Mhm.
Is that am I right, Siobhan, or do you think it's more that England's position is better than we're thinking?
I think it's better than you're thinking, especially if he had done the last few seasons correctly.
Mm.
But I'm just disappointed.